everybody. Welcome to the bonus cast. Man, it's good to see everybody. Gentry's with me this week, people.
Hello.
All right. We're going to go somewhere different because Grant always takes it one way. Gentry will take it another way.
The first pitch was that all three of us were going to be on at once.
Yes, that was the plan.
And I was like, that's a lot of Perry all in one camera. You know?
Well, I was talking to someone the other day that said that when two of any of the Perry boys show up at the same place, it's probably going to be rough.
Yeah. Wait, rough? I don't know about that. That's the word. It's a lot, though.
It's a lot. I think that's what they were saying.
And the amount of Perrys, it becomes more, like exponentially.
Yes,
the more Perrys you have. You know? Yeah.
I think that's what they were saying. Is when I said rough, it was like it's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
So anyway, how's your week been?
It's been good. Yeah.
Yeah. We got to take care of Oslo today.
Yeah.
So. Tell you, video you sent.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So I started reading Oslo, the story of the Good Samaritan, and I mean literally the first word. So it says, and Jesus said to them that bandits beat a man, and Oslo. As soon as I said bandits beat, he went.
Yeah, and Oslo's like 6 months, 7 months,
4 months,
4 months,
4 or 5, and
wow.
and then you adjust for that. He's even younger, but yeah. And then I was like, Oslo, you can't laugh yet. That's not good. And then I say, so the bandits beat the man. And they go, oh, I'm just like, you're lucky that you're too young, and I'm not posting this to Facebook yet.
Yeah,
I might
exactly.
still, but
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's fun. And then Sunday, normally you would you produce or you produce the live feed.
I did the live stream producing for multiple years consecutively by myself
since
COVID,
when we really got serious about it.
Yep. And then after that, and then after I had a baby, we had to get some help real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And we were already, like, Curtis was kind of my emergency backup, but Luke became a part of the Life Chapel family, and now, oh my gosh, he's involved in so much stuff with our media now. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and Luke and Tia both.
Yeah, and JD, it's crazy. He was one of my youngest youth students, and now he's up and graduated.
Starting college here soon.
He also helps with the media.
Yeah,
production.
he's a great one.
So I was off of that, and I was watching Oslo. And
so for the people that watch the online, and we have, on average, we have about 30 to 35 every week.
Right,
that watch online,
and that's screens, right? So you don't just assume that that's always one person, although sometimes it is.
Yeah,
that can be a family, that can be a couple.
Right,
so, I mean,
exactly.
There's no reason that couldn't be 50 people watching online.
Yeah, and we have people from. I mean, this last week we had somebody from Dallas. We have 2 families in Florida. We had, of course, local people that weren't feeling well, or whatever.
It's a great resource. Yeah.
And then there's another state that popped up, but it's pretty cool to watch that happen.
Every now and again, you'll get another country in there. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yep, I do. Every so often, we have a family from Australia that watches every so often.
Oh, that's cool.
So normally you do the announcements. That's where they normally see your face.
Yes,
is on the announcements.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about Sunday. The sermon.
Yeah.
I felt like the worship went good. I felt like everything went smooth. But the sermon, we were talking about the flood,
right,
and death leading to life. And that always raises questions. And I actually mentioned it. Is it real, or is it just...
Oh, you mean the flood?
The flood.
The worldwide flood.
Yes. Is that real, or is that just...
Well, and we should say off the bat that there are literal translations of the Bible, right, where people read it and they say this is literally what happened, and then there are contextual translations of the Bible saying, well, maybe some of this was as it was, but also they use things like hyperbole, right? If I say it's raining cats and dogs, and then 1,000 years from now people are looking at my text going, it was raining cats and dogs. Well, how did that happen?
How did that happen?
They had to try to justify how, and it was like some things, and that's the thing, is it's our job as Christians to figure out, I don't know, what do I believe, and what really is going to get
But I have the simple faith to just say, if that's what it says, then that's what I'm going with.
I think that I pull a little bit towards the middle. There's some things where I I kind of don't have a problem. Faith isn't my issue, really.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
It's like I don't have an issue with saying the whole earth flooded. All right.
Well, it's like the days of creation, whether it's 24-hour days or
are
thousands of years per day or
right. So
a split second.
We're talking so fast for some people who
yeah,
may not,
I know it. I know it.
For some people who may not know. So, and here's an example, an easier example. We'll talk about the creation days.
Yes.
So it could have been that when it talks about the 7 days of creation, that it was 7 24-hour days. But then the question comes up, well, the sun wasn't made until the third day. Right? Fourth day.
Yeah.
So then, well, how did you have a day?
Yeah.
The Earth, because a day is of Earth spinning, one rotation, and it's dictated by sunlight. So it's like, it's hard. I actually had a friend growing up who was very serious about that being a literal thing, and his faith hinged on it. And I think that's a dangerous place to hinge your faith on.
Yeah.
On did this miraculous thing happen?
Yeah.
Or did this thing in the Bible happen literally? We totally believe in miracles. We totally believe that the miraculous does happen and that God does supernatural work. At the same time, Moses, all of Genesis we believe that Moses was the one who transcribed all of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's like all of that was being fed into Moses' mind from God. So when he was writing the book of Genesis, was he making a detailed diagram of, okay, it was 7 days and this happened, or was it a interpretation of all of creation being beamed into your head?
Yeah.
Because I might just start saying, you know what, let's just break this up into something a little bit more,
yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's just call it a day.
Right. Exactly.
Hey,
let's just call it a day. So when we're talking about, now speeding up to Moses, when we're talking about Noah.
Noah and the flood.
When we're talking about Noah, are we talking about a true worldwide flood? Are we talking about every single animal was put on a ship that was the size of about 2 football fields, right? 2.5.
1.5.
Yeah, so 1.5.
1.5 long, 75 feet wide, 45 feet tall, 3 floors.
It's a big boat.
Yeah, you know why it had to be 15 feet tall every floor? Because the average giraffe
I saw
is
that
12
from
feet
about
tall.
a mile
I
away.
know you did, but I'm just saying. So that's another interesting question, is because anytime you go to the flood, then people start going in both directions. But what about?
Right.
What about back here? What was before the flood? Why were people living so long after the flood? Why did people start dying?
Right.
Well,
and let me just maybe say right now, if you're watching this looking for the truth of what happened, you're watching the wrong program. You're not going to get any strong, firm answers tonight on
this is a discussion. We're just talking about stuff
of 2 people who grew up and know a lot about the Bible, I think.
Well, I mean, we keep studying, we keep reading, we keep trying to figure stuff out.
But if anybody tells you they know the answer, you might want to be a little suspect of that first.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
There are a lot of very definitive answers in Scripture.
Sure.
But there are some things that are not so defined.
So
the earth flooded, we know that. As far as, there was a boat. Right. We know that.
There was a boat.
Animals got on the boat. 2 of the unclean, 7 of the clean.
Right.
We know that Noah and his family were on the boat.
Right.
We know that the world was wicked before the boat, the flood, and that it was clean after the flood.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of stuff that happens. I mean, if you think about it, in Genesis 1 and 2, the creative days, there's a whole lot happening there. And what happens between the end of 2, where you have Adam and Eve in the garden, living the good life.
Yep.
And then chapter 3, where Adam and Eve eat the fruit. Mm-hmm. We don't know how long that time was.
Exactly.
And then people are wanting to know about dinosaurs.
Right.
Now, when did they live?
We had this conversation the other day at the house. Yeah.
And we're talking about all this, people fussing about were they real?
Right.
Did they live up to the flood?
So I've heard crazy theories.
Well, talk to me about some crazy theories.
And you know
I'm going to throw the Bible at them.
I'm not here to make anybody feel bad if this is one of your crazy theories. But, you know, between family members, we can poke fun at each other, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I've had people in my life say that I don't know if dinosaurs were real, but their bones are a test of faith. And that we find their bones and our faith is tested because they believe, the people who say this theory believe that dinosaurs and people couldn't have lived at the same time.
Okay.
That's what a lot of science says. That's what a lot of people, you know, a lot of...
Because they were so huge and they would have gobbled man up.
Yeah, a lot of academics say that didn't happen, you know? And so they're like, okay, sure, that couldn't have happened. So their theory is that God put dinosaur bones in the ground to test our faith to see if we could believe.
That's some wild stuff.
That's
some wild
I think
stuff.
If you think that, you're a little silly.
Okay.
But my mom's a little silly. I'm not going to even go into her theory about the dinosaurs because I can't handle her theories about just about anything. But you know, I think, right? I'm of the persuasion that the 7 days of creation weren't literal, but were a tool that Moses used.
Just a period of time of which we do not know completely.
Right. Where it's like things were happening, things were growing, the earth was transforming, life was beginning and ending, all this stuff for who knows how long.
Yeah.
And then, so that's one way that I think some of the animals, you know, came up, died, went under the ground, became fossils, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get Adam and Eve in the garden, and you don't know how long they were there for.
Right.
It doesn't say. They could have been there for a week. They could have been there for a billion
7 million
years.
A billion years.
Who knows,
we don't know.
Now, I think it would have been really funny if they only lasted a week. Like, they had one rule.
You get that. One, Adam and Eve.
Right.
You have one tree you can't eat of, and you can't make it a week.
It's a little funny if you couldn't go longer.
Well, this is true. This is true. Hopefully, they lasted longer than a week.
Hopefully, but we can't say with certainty that anything happened. Could have been 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you start moving on to this creation story. Now, I forget in my Bible lessons, was Babel before or after the flood?
After.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Because when they come off the ark, the plan was scatter and replenish the earth.
Right.
Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth were supposed to go into the 4 directions and replenish the earth. And they found the valley that was lush, and they said, we'll just build here. And then generations pass, and they build the tower in an effort to meet God.
To meet God, or to kind of, it's almost like a show of spiritual strength in a way. Like they're trying to say,
we're going to prove something.
We're man, and we're, you know, that's what it seems like in the text at least. Yeah.
So when we think about that, with no answers, we haven't helped anybody.
No.
We're not helping anybody. No.
And there's somebody right now on their keyboard going, it was all 100% real, and Noah, it was yes. The whole earth was flooded. Yeah. Now there is interestingly, so in a category 4, the entire earth was flooded.
Yeah.
There is, in other cultures, I'll call it mythology because it's not our belief, but in other cultures there's the world flooded.
Right, the whole earth flooded.
The whole earth flooded.
So this is actually a story that is in multiple cultures,
right,
in religions, and
right,
yeah. So it's not far out to look at the Bible and say, "Oh my goodness," because it's listed in others as well.
An act happened where the earth flooded. Now, I guess my thing is if I'm more in the middle here, I'm like, does that mean that every single person and animal died that wasn't Noah and everything on the ark?
Yeah,
and I don't know. Am I a heretic if I don't know?
Yeah, you're pretty much there. We're going to have to. He cannot be producing the online.
I don't know.
He can't be producing the online stuff. He don't believe anything.
The problem
he don't even know what he believes.
The problem is I don't have a firm enough attitude because I won't plant a stake in the ground about it. If you pointed at me and said, you better believe that Noah was that was exactly how it went, I'd go, all right, man. Sure.
I believe it.
I don't.
So let's get to We haven't even gotten to anything that means anything.
We've been floundering around it a little bit, yeah.
So the whole point of the message was talking about death and how death brings life.
Right.
So when you think about the cycle of seasons, all of that, when you think about what we talk about in death, you know, we at the end of every, we were talking about this the other night too at the house, ashes to ashes and dust to dust.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So from dust we came, to dust we shall return. That's the end of every funeral.
I'd like to rather go dust than ashes personally, but we won't get too morbid in this conversation.
But when we talk about the importance of literally watching the transition of life, trees losing their leaves and seeing that death process, but knowing that that's beneficial to the life that's going to come in spring.
Right.
And so then when we take all of that and put that into our personal life and what it looks like for us in our discipleship process, crucifying the flesh, dying to the flesh,
right,
getting rid of the stuff that's, you know, especially with us being on this 21-day fast right now.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I've been talking to Sierra a lot about that lately, which is just like, there just has to be a continual, like, I die to this every day.
Yeah.
Like with certain things, right? I think we all have something that pulls at us. We all have like a certain thorn in our side, and that could be a physical addiction, that could just be a mentality or an attitude, that could be anything. But I think everybody suffers with something that they strive against every day.
Yeah.
And you and you require God make you victorious against.
What would some of those things be?
So,
I mean, it could be things like fear.
I don't want to tell on her. I'll tell myself.
No, let's just talk about fear.
Yeah.
Addiction. But that addiction can look 1,000 ways.
Right. It could be gambling. It could be drugs.
Yeah.
It could be whatever.
What about like poverty mentality? You mentioned mentalities. What about poverty mentality?
Right.
Crucifying that.
Yeah.
Or arrogance.
I think it's better for people if we do talk about our own. I think people get that a little bit more. I'll say my own is a down attitude. That's something I struggle with. And I'm not saying I win that fight every day.
Yeah.
But you know, like just being down is, and people, I'm not here to tell you that if you suffer from depression or low feelings that you have something in you that's broken that God needs to fix. But it is something in my life that I have to push against.
Yeah.
Because it's real easy to sink.
For you to fall into a hole.
For me to fall into a pit. Or if just slow down into, you know, my brain, my body, everything can just kind of slow to a halt if I don't.
Yeah.
If I don't keep things moving.
Yeah.
You know?
Do we want to just call the whole family out and go one by one down the list of the family?
Why don't you do yours next? And we'll start with ours, and then everybody else.
I'm calling out the whole family. We're going to go through the whole list of the whole family.
Right.
No.
Well, you know what would go really good for us is if we start with our wives. Let's start.
Yeah, right. I ain't going home if we do that.
Yeah, right.
You know, I think for me, it's a drivenness to want to get to want to get ahead so fast. Like one of the things that's just exhausting me right now is with trying to figure out where we're going next as a church.
Right.
The building, the property wise.
Yeah.
Spiritually, everything's going great. Numbers are great, and we're just like we need property, and I'm ready to just go buy a building. Just go buy a building and let's do it. And I'm waiting on the Holy Spirit to say this is it, or this, open a door.
You know what's funny is you just said everything's going great. Numbers are better than ever before, but you can't sit on that victory even for a second because it's like
there's one more thing I got to figure out.
Because we're doing great now, but what are we going to do next? And because Sierra's the same way.
Yeah,
I can tell on her because you and her share that disposition.
We do. And it's funny because me and both my daughter-in-laws are alike in different ways.
Right.
Me and Brooke are alike in some ways, and me and Sierra are alike in some ways. It's kind of weird. You married your dad. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
So when you think about the dying and the crucifying of the flesh and what that looks like, when we talk about the importance of the denying personal ambition or crucifying our natural proclivities toward life, how do we bring this into discipleship? So when we think about every day, this is something we got to work on.
Yeah.
How does that tie into our discipleship? What are tools that we can use to crucify the flesh, to grow in the grace and knowledge of God. How do we make all that happen besides just saying, I'm just going to grit my teeth and make it happen? You know what I'm saying?
I think that, I mean, well, somebody described this to me. I think it was Brianna when she was around. There's two ways of miraculous change happening in a person. And that can be instantaneous, which is deliverance, but a lot of times it's slow, which is healing. And I liked that differentiation.
Oh, yeah. That's really very good.
Because I love to talk aspirationally to people and say, hey, if you feel a total life change happening in your spirit, your body, your makeup, it happens.
Yeah.
People do just change from one person and become a totally different person.
Yep.
For most of us.
Miraculously. You're exactly right. But most of us
go through a slow process.
Yeah.
And with that slow process, I always recommend people make baby steps, little changes, actionable things you can see every day.
Well, don't you think that's more the discipleship piece?
That is more.
Because the miracle piece takes out the work.
Sure.
God did it. It's done.
It happens. And that does,
And it does happen.
It's
But most people,
yeah,
I think you're right.
I think a lot of people don't take the healing because they're waiting for the deliverance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They won't.
Oh, that's really good.
I know. We should tweet that. I knew that was good when I was saying it. Most people are so they want that total,
but they're still praying for it. So instead of doing something today, in a baby step toward a healing, they're just holding on to hope for the miracle.
Yeah.
And they never take a step forward.
And I think that God matches your steps, right? He's like the best employee matching 401k plan there ever was.
Wow.
Right?
Come on, somebody.
Yeah, I know. I'm preaching my business, my corpos out there who work a regular day job, where it's like, whatever you put in there, he's at least going to match you. Always.
So when we watched Funny Home Videos a few years ago, we were watching this little boy going, and his mom said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm just trying to grow."
Yeah.
It's like, well, he thought he was going to grow like 5 feet in a day or something. And it's like, no, you're going to grow about this much a day for a while. And then you stop and then you surge. And that's discipleship.
Right. And with those changes, do something that you can see, do something that you can measure. Do something. So, like, for instance, I lost a lot of weight a little while ago.
Yeah.
I need to do that again. By the way, I'm telling on myself, telling everybody else. But there are different ways you can. So every week I would weigh in, and I just did this for myself, and I wrote it up on a whiteboard, and I just every week at the same time, didn't matter how much I lost, or if I lost, or if I stayed the same, or if I gained a little, I'd write it there. It was always a visual reminder. I would and another thing was you get a like pants or a shirt or something that's too tight. And it's a little disappointing when you're losing weight really slowly because you don't see any results. You're just like, every day you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm still me,
Yep.
But, you put on a shirt or something and you're like, oh, this is a little bit loose.
Yeah.
I used to not be able to get my arms into this thing and now it fits good. I think people can almost do that mentally.
So here's another way of intentionally developing discipleship when we talk about this dying to live is accountability is so important.
Right.
Accountability.
Right.
So there are groups, accountability groups, that they come together once a week, once a month, business leaders, whoever.
Right.
And they set out their goals and they attach their goals to an amount of money.
Oh.
So, and it has to be a goal that you can accomplish. It's not like the stock market goals or stuff like that. It's like, I'm going to do this, and if I don't do it, I have to put $100 in the pot.
I'm looking something up in related to this.
And so what happens is you tie up an accountability to your decision.
Right.
So, and there's people in that group, in those groups, depending on who's in the group, that literally they'll put a few $1,000s on. I mean, you get up there into the high capacity people, and they're like, if I don't do this within the next month, I got to put $2,000, and then at the end they take all the money in the pot and give it to charity, which is a nice thing.
So what they're doing is they're making what are called SMART goals. Have you heard of
SMART goals? Talk to me about SMART goals and tie it to discipleship and the Christian walk.
So SMART goals, SMART. It's an acronym.
Yes. Talk to me about that. I have heard it, but I'm not.
I feel like you have, yeah.
Yes, we've talked about this.
It's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based.
So what if you took your spiritual walk with God and you...
So
my prayer life.
If you are a low down, good for nothing, dirty Dan.
Yeah.
You know.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
sorry, Dan.
I felt Jonathan.
Sorry,
come
Dan.
over me.
We'll call out Fred and Bill and Ralph too.
Yeah,
but
right. and you say, I want to become an angel.
Yeah.
I want to be so good.
I want to be the best Christian in town.
The best Christian in the world.
Yeah.
But that's all you say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that specific?
Mm-hmm.
Is that measurable? Is that attainable? Because what happens is people, and you see this in a couple of different ways. Number one is people, after they say that, they didn't get the miraculous deliverance.
Yeah.
They realize a week later they're still a dirty dog. And then they go, well, I guess I'm not a good Christian.
Yeah,
and
I'm done.
I'm done. It's not for me. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Or it goes the other way where they self-deceive. And they think, I'm the best Christian who's ever been around.
I'm killing this. I am killing this.
And you kind of
my wife has no idea how blessed she is to have me, and you acting like a crazy person the whole time.
And you talk, and I've met a couple people like that, and I'm like, I don't think that you are who you think you are, you know. But you can make goals personally. So it's like an easy one is reading the Bible.
Yeah,
reading an amount of the Bible.
All right, let's go through some of those. What can be the SMART goals?
Yeah.
Right.
So I
reading the Bible's one.
Reading the Bible can be a SMART.
Showing up at church.
Oh my goodness, showing up at church.
Just say I'm going to be at church one time a week. If I miss Sunday, I'm going to be there Wednesday.
Yep.
I'm going to be at church physically in the building.
Yeah.
I'm going to be there. Another one could be
daily prayer.
Yeah, but back to church attendance. Oh, I'm going to get there early and stay late.
That's good. And I mean that you can put that.
I'm going to get there 15 minutes early
and
meet some people I don't know, stay 15 minutes late, have a cup of coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not I need to tell this to some people. It's not anti-Christian to make things numbers based. Because I think people think in their head, oh, well, if I put myself on a clock and I say I've got to be there 5 minutes early and I got to stay 15 minutes late, well, I'm putting a clock on it and it's not natural. It's not organic.
Yeah.
It's like, well, guess what? Organically, you would have been sitting at home eating Cheetos. So maybe we need to make things a little inorganic.
Sorry, Cheetos eaters and Dan. Sorry, Dan and Cheetos eaters.
But I think people have this. It's almost like
you're
love.
Right.
It's almost like love where people think it has to be this ooey gooey.
Yeah, they
organic.
romanticize the relationship with God, but discipleship is discipline.
Yes.
And discipline is always tied to
your actions.
Definitely measurables, actions, all these things.
Yeah.
So we've got, what was the one you said?
I said, so the first one I said.
Prayer.
So prayer.
Church attendance.
Reading the Bible.
Reading the Bible. Yeah, that's an easy one.
And if you could honestly do those three.
And you get those three down.
You're in a great place.
Tithing.
That's another one.
Giving, generosity.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. And again, start with what you can do.
Yeah.
So if 10% just feels like that's scratching a chalkboard in your mind, you are not.
Start with 3%.
You get points for effort. I'm going to give you that. I don't know. I'm saying Gentry's going to give you points for effort on that one. I think
he's a school teacher. I mean, he was supposed to be a school teacher. We won't tell.
I taught for a little bit.
One of his degrees is in education. So he's going to give points for whatever you do. Yeah. But you're right. Start with where you can.
Yeah.
And do what you can where you are. So let's go through some more of these. What about involvement? I'm going to serve in my church.
Serving, yeah.
One time a month.
One time, honestly, one time a quarter.
No, one time a month. No, I'm gonna hold them on one time a month. one time a quarter.
Time a year, but I was like,
they'll forget they even go to church.
Yeah, that's getting pretty long out there. But to some people,
but serving at church.
Feels, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, what's some others? I'm just kind of brainstorming here because I think people need the practical tools of like,
right.
Yeah, but I don't know how this really works.
I love making systems. So what I would do if I was doing the Bible one, which I probably should do that right now, is I would put the Bible, like every day I make my bed because I don't know what's wrong with me.
I'm a bed maker. Sharon and I have always made our bed.
But I don't.
Before we leave,
I think I'm the weird one though. Honestly, if you don't make your bed, you're normal. I make my bed because I'm weird. I would put my Bible right on top of my bed.
There you go.
And that means
you can't get in your bed
until I read my Bible. I like systems like that where it's like I cannot forget it. So
see, now I put my Bible right where I eat my breakfast on the counter. I leave it there.
You know you're going to.
Now, if we're having company or something like on Sunday nights, I'll usually move it because we got pizza and food everywhere. But throughout the week, I'm going to leave my Bible right there where I eat my breakfast, so that when I sit down to eat my sausage and my eggs, no breads, no carbs, sausage and eggs, I'm going to open my Bible and I'm going to read a chapter or two or three, and I'm going to write. I'm going to write. So I write in my Bible a lot, but that's just me.
Or I can already hear them, Dad. They're going, but you guys don't understand. Oh, you got these cushy lifestyles. You got time to sit and eat breakfast.
You don't do
got
it.
Time to.
How far do you drive to work?
45 minutes.
You drive one way, 40. So an hour and a half a day. You're on the road.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yep.
You know where I'm headed.
Go ahead.
So you're saying you guys have all this time. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
I work 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
I drive 1 hour to work, 1 hour back. I got a baby I'm taking care of. All right. Well, guess what? You got time in the car.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're doing, you got it. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes to work, 10 minutes to work. Set it up so that your phone, you can do automatic actions on your phone, so that whenever I've got stuff to where if I get to my house, a little ping pops up on my phone, or if I leave my house, a little ping pops up on my phone. I can have it so that whenever I leave my house, the Bible app opens up.
Really?
I could set that. I mean, I got an Android though.
Oh, come on.
So I don't know
if Android does it. I know Apple does it. Apple's so far ahead.
What I could do is, so for instance, every day I got this issue where I'm always looking to queue something up for my drive to work.
Gotcha.
So I'm in the shower. I don't know.
You're
if it's
getting
TMI
ready to go.
My eyes are blurry eyed.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, what am I going to watch today on my way to work? And it's always just a struggle. It's a brain energy that I don't have to make a choice.
Yep.
But what I should just do is say, I already know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen to Matthew.
Yeah.
And listening counts. Anybody says
of course.
Anybody says audiobooks don't count, they're liars.
Or even if you say, you know what, I'd rather read the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, then you mentioned audiobook.
Yeah.
I want to read 10 or listen to 10 religious books this week, this year. Yeah. Just 10, whatever it is. Then you go online, you pick those 10, and you set it to where there are. But you need to create that discipleship process.
Right. Discipline is that key.
Is the root word.
Right.
For discipleship. Right. Discipline.
I think that people who aren't disciplined think that there's something wrong with them because it's so hard.
Yeah,
it's not. It's just so.
That's
hard.
the whole reason it's called discipline.
People, but I think undisciplined people are like, you just don't understand. Yeah. It's so hard for me. Trust me, I hate it too. I don't hate the Lord. I don't hate the Bible. I hate coming to church. Sometimes though, I'm just tired.
But this is crucifying the flesh.
Right.
This is saying instead of you, so used to years ago, I'd listen to Rush Limbaugh every afternoon if I was in the car, and then after a while, it's like, so now I've got my podcast. Mm-hmm. I listen to 2 clean comedy podcasts a week.
Yep.
I listen to leadership podcast every week. Of course, I'm reading my Bible every week. Pick your stuff that's going to help you grow.
Right.
And so then let's talk about the whole idea that ultimately the idea of dying to live is so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Counterintuitive.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. How can we use kingdom concepts to help us make sense of all this? How do we take the scripture and say, flip the script of life? So when the world says you live to die, we're saying no, we die to live. When the world says you you can't give because you don't have it to give.
Right.
And you say, I don't have it to give, so I will give.
Right.
Right. And so how do we learn to flip that script and to create that upside down, which is all the teachings of Jesus? All the teachings of Jesus are kind of considered upside down teachings.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
How do we navigate that in our brain? How do we get that, train ourselves to think in another way?
I think so there's this saying that's kind of in my head, and it was by a psychologist. I think his name was Carl Jung or something. He wasn't a Christian guy, but he taught on a lot of things that were biblical concepts. He just didn't know it.
Which
a lot of people do that.
Peterson is huge on that. What's that Peterson guy?
Yeah, Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that guy. All he does is preach a scripture.
He's so close. No, he is. And
I think he's converting.
Well, he goes right up to the line, "Except to clear in Christ is King." He does. He thinks, he even talks about the teachings of Jesus. And
I know.
He does. And he's like,
I've been listening to him lately, and it's like,
right up to that line.
He's
he can't cross over. But
he'll get there in Jesus' name.
I think it was him, and he says this: the lesson will be repeated until it is learned.
Oh,
the lesson will be repeated until it is learned.
Yes, I agree.
And this is just you every day in your whole life until you die, which is the end of that lesson. Until you find a way to
crucify that flesh.
Crucify that flesh. You're going to go through that same cycle again and again and again. It's like the cycle of apostasy.
Yeah.
Israel could not learn the lesson that their fathers did.
Yeah.
Just one short generation ago, or two or three, or whatever it was, and so they had to just repeat the lesson.
So they would get a prophet, obey the prophet, forget the prophet, go into rebellion,
fall into slavery
or whatever. Yep. And then another prophet would come. They'd get out of listen to the prophet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just a cycle.
And so it's
cycle of apostasy.
And so it's that's kind of this kingdom concept, right? Of until you truly die, you will not learn the lesson that you have to learn to move on to the next problem.
You can't activate kingdom principles in your life and still fight for your flesh. You have to.
All right, that was too good. Let's just end it there.
Okay. Now, before we end, what I need them to do is I need them to click all the good buttons, only good buttons. Like, thumbs up, hit the comment and say, hey, this was amazing. You guys are just brilliant. I mean, something like that.
This is some tips, though, is the negative stuff helps too.
Really? Don't tell them that.
Well, I mean, if they thumbs down and if they leave a bad comment, they still push it.
Really?
Yeah, they don't.
They push the bad comments
because
don't put no bad comments in. Don't tell us this stuff. Subscribe.
They
need to subscribe. We are launching.
So if you're on YouTube,
ring the bell.
If you're on YouTube, there's a bell.
Come on, ring the bell.
All right, there's a bell icon you can click, and what it means is every time Life Chapel puts out a video or goes live, it'll send you a notification on your phone.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. See, I wish I knew all this.
The problem is subscribing. It doesn't mean anything anymore, unfortunately.
Really? I thought if you subscribed, it came to you automatically.
No, not as much.
So
you have to go to your subscription page. The bell is the best one.
You get the notification every time it drops, but you only get the notification in YouTube.
That's true.
But if I'm on Facebook,
you can probably say alert me on posts. I don't know how that works, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you can do that on
all right.
page.
Yeah, that's what we want people to do.
Do all of that stuff.
Yeah, do all the good stuff.
Yeah.
This coming Sunday, we've got the another part in this series on Begin Again Again, which is this whole year. The whole idea is to do the big God stories this year.
Yes.
And so we're doing the big God stories. So this coming Sunday, I'm going to be talking about redemption. So we're not doing chronological big stories.
Okay.
We're doing idea big stories. So the big idea for the month is to begin again, and the redemption, the cross. Next month we're talking about love because of Valentine's Day, and we'll talk big love stories in the Bible.
I was just telling somebody I forgot the story of Samuel and Eli. Because I just haven't heard it in so long.
Right.
You only hear it when you're a kid.
And so we're going to be telling all those big stories on Sundays. And so this coming Sunday, I'm talking about redemption, the cross, the power of the blood, all that kind of stuff. Children's ministry is just thriving right now. Youth ministry is thriving. So we look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Hey, let me pray you out before we leave, all right? Father, we just thank you for our time together. We thank you for all the great things that's happening here at Life Chapel. And we thank you for this opportunity just to share in this bonus cast. And we just pray over all of those that listen or watch. And we ask you to bless them in Jesus' name. All right, God bless you guys. Thank you for being with us. We look forward to seeing you real soon.